What's one thing roofing companies should stop doing immediately?
One thing roofing companies should stop doing: buying leads, man. Come on.
Is that it?
Yeah. Just like buying leads off of Angie's List, right?
100%.
So like the homeowner has no idea who you are, and then it's like, oh, the leads are bad, right? Well, what did you expect? Like they have no idea who you are, and then you're trying to take that lead from cold to sold in a very short period of time, and then you're mad that you're getting price shopped. Like they're just looking for the cheapest price for the most part.
They say when they know your brand or they know who you are, they make 80% of the buying decision.
There you go.
Before you even get there, right?
Right.
So in this scenario, when you're buying these leads and you're competing against 5 other people, they have no clue who you are.
Right.
So at the end of the day, how are they going to make a decision?
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be based solely.
It's just
primarily
price.
On
yeah,
price.
like that's a shortcut to making a great decision.
Yeah.
It's like all these 5 guys look the same. I'll just choose the lowest price because I want to make a smart decision. So yeah, don't buy leads. Invest in building your brand.
First podcast here at Braga Brothers Contracting. So Introduce myself, Luke Braga. Little brief intro. My name is Luke Braga, visionary at Braga Brothers Contracting, and I want to welcome you all to episode 1 of what I believe I'm going to call this as the Visionary Cast, a podcast where I sit down with real life visionaries and empower them to share their journeys, lessons, and breakthroughs that have shaped who they are. To me, a visionary isn't just a business owner or entrepreneur. A true visionary is someone who actively seeks out a unique vision God has placed in their heart. Whether that means leading a movement, building a business, raising a family, or being a role player on a mission that's much bigger than themselves. This show will be all about bold faith, intentional living, and the relentless pursuit of God calling you for what is meant for you. Let's get into it. Here I have today Joseph Hughes from Contractor Dynamics, husband, father of 2, God-fearing man, and visionary at Contractor Dynamics. He's a former Boston College graduate, and rugby standout, referred to many as BC Joe, but around here we call him Sensei Joe. This is the man who helped catapult our business from a small 6- and 7-figure construction business to a multi-7-figure top recognized brand in Monmouth County. He didn't just teach us marketing, he showed us how to build influence, lead with intention, and lead and own our identity. Let me introduce you to our coach, mentor, and longtime friend, Joseph Hughes.
Wow, what an introduction. Honored to be here. I don't think I've ever been anyone's episode 1, so this is cool. This is really cool.
Let's go.
Amazing what you guys have built here over the past few years.
Yeah, man. First time for everything, right?
Yeah.
First time on somebody's first episode.
Yep.
First time doing a podcast
There
for
we go.
me. So
yeah, it's good to be on the other side. Yeah, I
Yeah.
host a lot myself. So yeah, completely honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Everybody making progress, right? Because that's what this is all about, this entrepreneurial journey that we both chose to go on. It's constant evolution, constant growth, constantly challenging yourself for more, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm reading this book right now called The Comfort Crisis. And it's all about how our lives are so comfortable. So we have to intentionally put ourselves outside of that comfort zone and in order to grow and discover who we are. It's really cool.
And on that topic, does it ever end putting yourself outside that comfort zone?
I think it can. I think it can if you're just complacent. But if you have big dreams and you want to live with intention, then no, it's just you stack the wins, but then there's always what do they say, always happy, never satisfied. And just like, hey, what else am I capable of?
Yeah.
So,
now, how does somebody go from having that level of comfort to actually wanting more, or thinking about building that big vision or dream for themselves? How does that?
I don't know, man. I think a lot of people, and this is not to rag on anyone, everyone's different, right? Like a lot of people are just like chill, being in that comfort zone. I think that's probably the majority of people. I don't know whether it's innate or it's environment. Maybe it probably a little bit of both, I would say.
Both.
Nurture and nature. But yeah, it's always been like within me. I don't want to say no one's ever pushed me, but it's not like anyone's trying to prod me along and be like, oh, you got to do this now, you got to do that. Like it's innate. It's within me somehow, from God, from my parents, my upbringing, all of that.
Yeah. Speaking on that, let's dive a little deeper into that. Cause like I mentioned, former rugby player at a Division I school, right? Boston College.
Yep.
Yeah. You took it very serious. You took it to a higher level. I think you even played a little bit of pro ball. Is that right?
It wasn't pro, but I did have the opportunity to play for the United States for a little bit and travel around the world, which was amazing to represent one's country. So yeah, I had the opportunity to do that. And
How old were you?
I was 27, 26, 27. Yeah, a couple
Living
of
the
years.
dream, man.
It was
26,
amazing.
27, traveling the world playing rugby.
Yeah.
That's something.
I played for back then it was USA Super League, so it was the top league in the US. So there were 16 teams throughout the country. Our team was based at Columbia University in New York City, called Old Blue, established in 1963, I believe. Great organization, great club. So yeah, we got to travel all over the place. Met amazing people, bonded with amazing guys, like amazing experience.
Wow. Diving a little deeper into that, how do you get into rugby? I never knew Monmouth County to be a big rugby hotspot.
It wasn't. So I grew up like everyone else, playing basketball, soccer, baseball, all the normal things. And then I wasn't good enough at like those sports to play Division I at BC. So I was freshman year, and in my dorm at Boston College, there's this guy named Jude Kerrison, a real like Irish guy, like from Ireland. And he was like, we became friends. He's like, hey man, you look like you're an athlete. You want to play rugby? Wow. And I was like, yeah, like I've heard of it. Like, is that what they play in Australia? I don't really know, but it's, it was a way to meet other guys. BC is not a fraternity school. So I was like, yeah, I get to meet other guys, get to continue to play sports. So go check it out. So
continue to compete, right?
Fell in love with it. And it's a great group of guys. They're really, really good friends with a lot of those guys today. Ended up playing all 4 years there and just absolutely loved it.
That's amazing. And you probably took it to the highest level of competition, right? Because if there's something I know about Joseph Hughes from day one is that you are an ultimate competitor. You are a fierce competitor, whether that's rugby or business or pickleball even.
There you go.
Yeah, you surprise some people, man.
I was at the thing last night, an event, a CBA event with Bart. And we were playing the Top Golf, like the Top Golf bays, at Baseline Social, and he and I were competing on that. So that was fun.
Any prop bets, or are you guys just doing it?
No, just bragging rights, I guess. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
That's something that from the previous world that I was in, playing poker. That's something.
That's right.
Something that we really enjoyed doing was any type of competition or any challenge, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever it is. We always like to do prop bets.
Okay,
because it's just the way to like really put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
In our world, that's the world we were in. It's like, all right, you could prop bet anything. I don't know if you remember, but the arena barbecue a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Me and Benny.
Yeah.
Over, what's that game
Cornhole.
called? Yeah, cornhole, man. Take it to the extreme. I think we got up to like $500 or $1,000 in cornhole. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But we both come from that world. Benny played a little bit of poker. I love poker. I think if you have an edge, it takes away the gambling aspect of it because now you're making a return on it, right?
Right.
So if you see that there's a little margin to be gained there,
right,
to us it becomes like, all right, this is profitable.
Yeah.
Whereas we say it in our world, it was plus EV, so plus expected value.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So if you make that same bet 10, 20, 30 times, at the end of it, you're going to be profitable, which is basically like how the casino lives.
That's how the house wins.
Yeah. Their games are plus EV for them, so it's plus expected value.
Okay.
The same way if I were to play a 10-year-old in basketball 100 times,
right,
I'm gonna probably beat him over the long term. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that in business? I've never heard that concept. It's really
plus
cool.
EV. So I use it for every one of my decisions. When I go and make an investment, I say, okay, is this a plus expected value decision?
Okay.
So I'm weighing the pros and cons. I'm looking at the investment. I'm looking at the return I'm going to be getting. And to me, in business, it's at least at this stage in business, it's pretty easy decisions I can make.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're still a low multi-7-figure construction business. So basically, we need to delegate. We need to hire the right people. We need to invest in the right software and technology and in best industry practices to grow. So for me at this stage, it's fun, man. I took a lot of what I learned from poker and implemented it in business, which is what a lot of guys told me. They said, hey, if you can do this well in poker, if you can really manage the risk and the psychology and you can study it, you'd kill it in business and entrepreneurship. And so
far, so good. Okay. So some people from the outside might look at you and be like, wow, he's taking all these risks. Like entrepreneurship is so risky, but to you, it's really kind of a calculation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think God set it up for me to where he literally led me to that career through my childhood growing up. I was always hyper competitive, but I always really liked and was stimulated by strategy games.
Okay.
So, I played a lot of MMORPGs like RuneScape growing up. I played I played a lot of chess. I played a lot of Call of Duty competitively.
Okay.
So all these things led to, even when I was competing in high school in sports, I loved it and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't mentally stimulating enough. Which is why I love chess. And then naturally the progression from being an athlete to being a professional poker player was like, oh my gosh, this is every second of the entire day, my mind has to be locked in and mentally stimulated.
Yeah.
Like this is like the most intense focus I could probably be doing something. And
Right.
and I took that and I competed at a high level, loved that, and then took it into business. And
Yeah.
it's been a blessing ever
Well,
since.
I see you operate like that in business. Like you're just extremely focused.
Yeah.
It's most people are not. That's huge.
And that's something super interesting, right? Because as visionaries, you know, there's different types of visionaries. There's different personalities. You have we use predictive index. You know about predictive index,
We
right?
use it as well. We don't make a hiring move, a people move without it.
There you go. Yeah, because something our coach teaches us is that all businesses, they have problems, but a majority of the problems are people problems.
Yep.
Right? So if you can find the right people and put them in the right seats, you can grow faster. You can reduce the headache. You can leverage it. And through that, I forgot where I was going with that. But we're at the part where, okay, so visionaries, there's different type of visionaries, right?
Yes.
And on the predictive index,
Yes.
I'm a visionary. I'm a venture, which means I'm a super independent person. I'm about challenges and conquering the next task and the to-dos, which most ventures aren't. Most ventures are more like Mavericks to where they're super loose. They don't have that structure that I have. And what that's called on the predictive index, it's a cut back D.
Okay.
So you're able to basically have a corporate hook where you can actually do structured things and take care of that. But you took the test as well, right? What did you do?
Yes. What the heck am I? Not the influencer.
Promoter?
The promoter. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm a promoter.
So a good team builder, right?
Yeah.
Persuasive, influential
Galvanizing people around an idea. Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
How has your experience been building a team and having to surround yourself with good players and
getting to surround myself with great players? How's it been? I mean, at the beginning it was kind of accidental before I really knew what I was doing, right? Before I had access to, like, say, Brian Alexander and predictive index and things like that. Before we started implementing EOS, which is another thing we both implement, right? So it's kind of accidental, just kind of attracting the right people with the right values. We didn't even have like written core values. It was just like, here are the values by which I live and operate. And, you know, hey, Elizabeth, you seem to be very similar to me in the way that you see the world and the way that you operate, the way that you treat people. And let's align. And then we got into EOS and it was like, okay, accountability chart, roles, responsibilities. Who do we need next? This person's over here. We have this seat open. As, you know how that works.
Yeah.
And then you layer on predictive index to that. And it's just like,
takes it to another level, right?
It's just, it's awesome.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit, how you attract the right people, right? And not only are you attracting the right clients to your business, but you're attracting the right team members based on who you are, based on the values, based on the image you're projecting out there to the world, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to see. Like they say, like it's hard to see the label when you're inside the jar. Like you are who you are, and sometimes it's like, well, I don't really know like what, say, Sydney or Elizabeth are, you know, particularly attracted to when it comes to me as a leader or the company, unless you have those conversations, which we have. But yeah, it's about, you know, just those shared values, the way that you see the world, just doing the right thing, leading by example. You know, that's a big one.
It's huge.
That's a big one that comes from, you know, the Bible. Like right now, this week, I'm studying Josiah, who became a king at 8 years old, and 'cause his father was murdered and all that. So like they talk about how he lives by example, and as a leader, like you have to. That's it. You can't. You know, you got to back it up. So I think that's a big thing. I think some micro things that like how you handle adversity or how you handle like, you know, maybe an employee situation or a client situation or something where it might be easy just to like, you know, cut a corner or something like that. So I think people see that a lot, and that's attractive to the right people.
Yeah.
You know?
Now in the beginning, it's hard to be able to handle all those situations as well as you can later on in your entrepreneurial career, right? Because a lot of those traits or things that you talk about, they're not stuff that we're naturally born with. That's something that we have to consciously, continuously work on.
Yeah.
Right. Being a leader, it's not a natural born talent. It's a skill that we sharpen every single day along our entrepreneurial career, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. How have you been able to leverage other people and the industry and being in business for so long to be able to lead people?
Yeah. So for the first 3 years, I talk about this a lot. Like I struggled in business because I would not like you, where you sought out like coaches and mentors right away. The first 3 years, I was just like, I got to figure this out all on my own. And I didn't really know that there were business coaches out there that have been there and done that. So 3 years in, I did get my first business coach, Tim. And since then, I've always had like mentors, business coaches. It's like, dude, I'm not trying to like, land a vehicle on Mars, right? I'm doing something that people have already done before. So why am I going to try to figure it out?
Yourself.
Right. You're still going to face problems and challenges and self-doubt and all that stuff. But like, why not leverage the experience of others?
Yeah.
So that's huge. And then like, I love reading books and podcasts and listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, and then implementing the things and trying it and then seeing how it works and then just going back to the drawing board and putting your own spin on it,
What's that phrase that you say when people take in too much information and lack of implementation? Something along the lines of
information, is it information overload and implementation underload or something like that? Yeah.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people, or even before they become entrepreneurs or business people.
Yeah.
They worry about learning everything.
Yeah.
Diving deep into every book and every strategy before maybe starting a business or before getting into a new career, right? But we know that as entrepreneurs, it's something that you figure out as you go, right?
Yep.
You're building the car as you're driving it.
Right.
Right? Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. It's, you get into that like analysis paralysis where you're trying to like map. I had a business plan when I first started. Like it was all typed out in paper like that. Like, wow. It's worthless. I spent like 20 hours on the thing. You don't know until you get kicked in the teeth, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you read something in a book or you learn something at an event, like you do. You go and implement it and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, like, all right, well, that thing didn't work. Well, it works for all these other people. It didn't work for me. So therefore, it's me. It's the way I did it. It's like the way I just didn't understand it, whatever. So I just need to figure out the formula, So I'm a big fan of like using things right away. So I'll read something in a book. And then like I was coaching Sydney on something today with a team member situation. And I just used the thing that I just learned in the book.
Instantly implemented it.
And I gave it to her. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much for this, for this help. This is huge. And I almost felt bad. I'm like, I just learned it from this book. I don't even know if it's going to work, but give it a try,
You got to test it, right?
Yeah, totally. And that's how you move fast,
Yeah. Got to be able to pivot, make decisions, be decisive, right? Like we just mentioned, people will ponder something, go by the analysis by paralysis forever before even making moves, right?
Yeah, and then there's like, disc profile, like there's high D people who are, very dominant and decisive. I'm not naturally like that, so I've had to learn to be more decisive as a leader, just to make decisions. And if you make the wrong one, then you just make another one, right? Yeah. You can't sit here afraid to make a decision and just, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. So, Joe, I want to talk about, we mentioned that you are our sensei, right? You are our first business coach, right? We are super grateful and blessed to be where we are today. And we know that you have a huge part in that, right? I remember the one thing that sticks out for me from the very beginning was that first post you made in our office, in our 100 square foot office, which is about the size of this room that we're in right now. We were at Bellworks at a shared space, Collabs, and Joe gracefully came down and visited us. A bunch of young guys just started a construction business. And I remember at the end of it, we had to make a tough call to action, right? You challenged us. You said, hey, you guys want to move forward this or not? And, at the time, it was a big part of our bankroll. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
Do you remember? You want to tell that a little bit? Or
I don't remember exactly the words, but I remember there was a safe in the room and there was there's some cash in that safe.
And then we cut out some type of cash deal or something, right?
Yes. Yep.
Oh man.
You just rolled over to that safe, like, hey man, like how about a little cash discount? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Sure. Yeah. Let's roll with it.
So back then I think it was like $5K or something, and that was a large part of our bankroll.
Yeah.
Right? The funds we had for our business, and we ultimately had to take that leap of faith with you. And what I remember from that meeting, something that always encouraged us and that I really liked that you said that stuck out, was that we're young guys and that we're hungry, but we're also smart enough to learn and to know that we have to leverage the collective experience of other successful people that already have been where we want to go. And that exact thing stuck out to me for even till this day, because in the poker world, I did the same exact thing.
Cool.
Right? Masterminding, meeting other people, asking the questions to the right people, and then implementing that stuff from people that have been there already.
Yep.
It's huge in business, right? Because like you just mentioned, we can't try and figure it out all by ourselves.
Yep.
We have to ask for help.
Yep.
And I want to talk about what it looked like, what Braga Brothers looked like pre-Contractor Dynamics, and what your first impression of us was back then.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about that. You met us. I think we found you on Facebook.
Yeah. So we had Alex Kitcher, one of our sales reps, who lives in Missouri. Lives in where does he live? I don't know, somewhere in Missouri. Anyway, So he was like, "Hey, I just talked to this guy named Luke. He's like by you in New Jersey. Said he's like watching YouTube videos or something like that. He's interested, but he wants you to like go to the office and like meet in person so he can kind of feel you out. And like, we have clients all over the country, right? So that's not like a normal thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, like sure, who are these guys? Like half an hour away, go check it out. So I know we had never interacted, I don't think, right?
Never.
So yeah, you and your two bros, T and Pedro, and in a little room, and just again, you track the right people. Like the money wasn't really like a big thing at all. It was just like, hey, you guys are like hungry. You're gonna do it. You had big visions.
You show up to this massive corporate building, Bell Works. You're like, I've never spoke to these guys in my life. I don't do our sales in person, or I don't go generally meet contractors. What are you thinking? You're walking in this building, you're like, these guys must be big time or something. I don't know. Like,
well, I knew the building. I knew it was a shared office. I didn't realize it was like basically, a walk-in closet. You guys were all crammed in
quite
there.
Literally.
But the energy was just like, you guys are just like full of like energy and just optimism and like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And I love that you were. I think at the time you guys were all like living with your parents still, so you had like low financial overheads. You're just like, we got nothing to lose. Like we're going all in. And then you're telling a story about your dad and how that was important to get, Big Ray was a subcontractor, and how you wanted to kind of flip that script and build something that he kind of started. And that was super inspiring because I come from a family construction business as well. So yeah, it was a lot of that just spawning over the similar stories.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into the next topic of that main struggle that we were facing as a new construction company back then, and ultimately building our business off of our father's business model, where he was primarily a subcontractor for a bunch of builders and general contractors, right? So we noticed when we came into it that working business to business with other contractors, there wasn't much progress to be made there. It's a tough industry to be in. So
the old boys network.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So making the shift going from B to B to B to C, right? Business to business to business to consumer, we had no idea how to do that. And we had no business experience. I had very little construction experience. Tiago never marketed in his life. So how did you see us at that point and say, like, I can really help these guys? Because you're taking a bunch of amateurs or rookies or young guys and saying like, hey, I think I could do something with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have some other younger clients as well. Not as cool as you guys, of course, but and then this area in Jersey, it's not like we're in a big city, right? So it's not like you have these big, huge companies that you have in, Denver, Dallas, that sort of thing. And so it's like a lot of old mom and pops, like guys that like your dad's age, that never really done any marketing. They're not doing anything different for the most part, right? There's some guys that stand out, especially now. It's come a long way. But it's like, man, you guys, you don't have to be like, and still, you don't have to be amazing at marketing or amazing on video. You got to be consistent, and you got to be real. That's it. Consistency and being real, putting yourselves out there. And I think maybe you might have had a little trepidation about like your age and being so young, and like, are our homeowners gonna trust us? We're so young looking, and I don't think you had any facial hair at the time. And but I think we talked about that a little bit, just being real and connecting with people and bringing a fresh perspective of like, okay, homeowners have dealt with these old school contractors who they may or may not show up, they don't call back, like it's a mess, right? So you guys are bringing this fresh approach, even when you didn't really know what you were doing. You had that ambition to like professionalize the industry
100% and bring from it what we saw was happening, the wrong things that were happening, right? Because like you said, there's a lot of older school guys that maybe they know the trades, but they don't know the level of service that should be getting delivered to these clients that just want things done the right way. They want you to reply to them. They want you to do what you say you're going to do, and all those things. So back on that topic, why do you think so many contractors struggle with the idea of building a brand and putting themselves out there and really out there?
I mean, I empathize with it. There's a lot of contractors that come from the sales end of things or the production end of things, where they know how to install a roof, right? Like, so maybe your dad, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they know. My first business book I think I ever read was The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and he talks about being the technician, the guy who installs the roof, or the manager, the entrepreneur. And like, there's a lot of sales reps or installers who are great at those things, the technician, but they don't know how to actually build a business, right? I didn't know how to build a business either. I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years. I'm still trying to figure it out, but like you have to be intentional about like, hey, I am not going to be the guy installing the roof, or I'm going to get out of sales by the end of next year. You know, I think everyone, not everyone, a lot of people keep themselves so busy and they keep their head down and grinding because that's how we feel like we're valuable. Like, oh, I put in a hard day's work, you know, especially if you grew up in construction like I did. I put in a hard day's work. Like, I'm valuable. I'm providing value to the company. But you gotta be intentional about stepping back and be like, all right, well, I'm doing sales now, but like you, like, all right, I'm gonna be out of sales by the end of Q3, right? Then I'm gonna hire a sales manager by the end of Q2. And like slowly like get out of that and learn the business skills.
Now in our world of EOS, we call that letting go of the vine.
There you go. Letting
Now,
go.
A question that I always have, and something that I see, because social media glorifies the idea behind being an entrepreneur and doing this thing and building these massive businesses and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think, from your personal view and your perspective, do you think entrepreneurship is something that anybody can do?
No. We were just talking about this last night with Bart at the event. No, I mean, it's way harder. It takes way longer. It's way more expensive than you would ever think, but it's way more rewarding, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's opinion that I know as well.
Now, expensive. Talk about that. Expensive, and what resources are we talking? Monetarily, time,
Well,
like what is it?
Like I have my business plan, right? Like on a piece of paper like that. I'm like, all right, so I'm going to start, and by month 3, I'll do this. And like by the end of the first year, I'll be a millionaire, and like, it's all good. Right.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it takes a while to understand, like, even like how to price your services. Like, where should my prices be? A lot of times we start, like I did, like I wasn't charging enough, right? Therefore, I wasn't making enough profit to reinvest back into the business. So then you have to learn that. And then, you know, software, hiring people. I think a lot of times, I was thinking about this today, I almost wrote a post about it, but I didn't articulate it well enough. I didn't want to ruffle any feathers, but we've had a couple of prospects recently who are like, oh, I want to join like the top level program, whatever CD has. I love you guys, but I don't have any money to like invest in marketing. And like some of these prospects kind of say that to us, like, you know, every 6 months they'll pop back into our sales funnel and have a call with like Elizabeth or someone. They'll kind of say the same thing. It's like, well, if you don't have any money to put into marketing, you've got to fix your margins, your profit margins, and then you got to go sell more. But it's this constant thing that a lot of these companies, right? They don't make enough profit to actually like hire anyone or reinvest back into marketing. It's just this hamster wheel, you know?
Yeah.
And I was there for a few years for sure. I just didn't know. And that's where coaching comes in.
Yeah.
You know? I remember Tim, my first business coach, came to our office in Asbury Park, right down the street, and we had a whole wall. It was like whiteboard paint, so you could just, you know, write on the wall, dry erase marker. And we went through all the services that we offered, and to the best that we could, all the expenses associated with those. And there were some services that we were offering that like we were losing money.
Yeah.
And like I just didn't know until I went through that exercise.
You
know?
actually put it on the board, right, and write it down in paper.
Yeah. So that comes back to like being a student of the game. You've got to be a student of the game. You've got to like learn marketing, learn the finances, learn selling. Even if you're not going to do it forever, you need to learn enough.
100%. And knowing your numbers, that's a huge thing that most business owners, or at least the smaller ones, they never actually get to investing the time into doing that, right? And ultimately, instead of building a business, which is what you originally came into it to do, you just give yourself a job.
Yeah,
a full-time job.
Yep.
Yes.
It'd be way easier to go get a job. You get paid more, less stress.
Yeah.
Go home at 5 p.m. You don't have to worry about anything.
100%.
Yeah.
But some people get caught in that, like you said, that hamster wheel of building the business. So on to the next. What would you say to a $1 million construction business owner? What lessons or advice would you give them that's trying to get to that next level? Maybe from the $0 to $3 million break point. What would you say to them if they're stuck at that 1 million?
Got to hire that admin assistant. That's the first person that's going to take all that little stuff off your plate that you think that only you can do, but there's so many, you know, big contractors that have figured it out, right? That admin assistant will take 10, 15, 20 hours of little work off your plate so that you can go out and you can go sell more, and then you can, you know, build up that cash reserve and then go out and hire more people. But if you don't get that admin stuff off your plate, like you're doing paperwork at 11 at night on the weekends. Your spouse is mad at you, your kids, don't like you, and it's extreme, obviously, but yeah, the admin is huge.
Delegate the $15 an hour.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. I mean, if anyone wants a reference book for that, like that blue book, it spells it all out. Like, you don't have to think about it. It spells it all out. It's awesome.
100%. And for somebody or for a team like ours, we were able to be lucky enough to meet you, right? And I remember one of the biggest pivotal points for us was getting put in the right room by you, right? So we meet you, we're in the Contractor Dynamics program for I think a month and a half, and then you invite us to Chuck Toki, top bread event over in Philly, right? And that completely blew our mind because our mind was open to what the actual business of construction was, right? What is sales? What are softwares? What is tech that we can be leveraging to save ourselves some time? So talk about how as an entrepreneur, it's important to know people. It's important to network. It's important to put yourself in those right rooms. Talk about
that blew your mind, but it blew my mind that you guys, I think you're like, oh, this is our first like event we've ever been to. And I was like, and I go to them all the time. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, really? Like, oh yeah, there's software for that, this, that, and the other. I think you guys picked up a few subscriptions to things
instantly.
You're like kid at candy shop. You're like, whoa, like I don't have to like write out estimates. It was Engage or something like that. So my mind was blown, but like that was just like that raw energy. So
how funny was that seeing that from like a young company and be like you said, like kids at the candy shop, like we're talking to everybody. We're like,
yeah,
what about this? What about
that?
Oh,
I need that. Like
financing. Whoa, yeah, you definitely need that.
Hey Joe, you ever heard of this? Like, yeah, bro, it's been around for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the right rooms are key. Like when I first started my business, I was going to Chamber of Commerce events and things like that. Honestly, I just didn't find them very valuable or very interesting. A bunch of old dudes sitting around drinking coffee that weren't super ambitious, in my experience anyway.
Yeah.
So I started my own group of Jersey Shore contractors, and we had our own meetups, and we had our own Facebook group, and that's how I, got my first couple of clients. So that to me was like, all right, well, I don't really want to like try to fight for a seat at this table. I'm going to create my own, and we still obviously do that today, But yeah, going to events where like we were at the EOS conference a couple weeks ago in DC. I mean, you're in a room with like super uber successful business owners who some of them don't operate in their business at all. They're just the owner. Yeah. They call it the owner's box in EOS. Like, oh yeah, just sit in the owner's box,
Wow.
Like $100 million company, and you're like sitting next to them. So that was things like that are a huge eye opener. Because sometimes we think we get good, stack some wins, and we get a little ego. We're like, all right, I'm awesome. Yeah. And then you go to something like that and you're like, all right, well, okay, there's levels.
There's levels to it.
Yeah. Totally.
How cool is that to see, and to see somebody else that did that? It probably inspires you to say, okay,
oh
there's
yeah,
still some levels to be gained here, right? There's still some progress to be made.
Yep. And a lot of those companies that are bigger and they're operating, the owner's not in the business, they're not doing anything magical. Like, it's not magical. It's, in that case, the EOS tools. They just implement the tools consistently and keep it simple, and that's it.
On that topic, EOS, man, I know we're EOS nerds, right?
Yeah.
We found out about it. Benny, I think, introduced it to both of us and to most of the Contractor Dynamics world, right? All the people in our network. How has EOS impacted your business?
Man, entrepreneurial operating system, for those who don't know, eosworldwide.com. So it's a system for operating a business where you don't have to, it's like kind of like paint by numbers, I would say. Maybe that's oversimplifying it, but you don't have to figure all the different parts out. So we've been implementing it for just under 3 years. It's been transformational, like not just for me as the visionary and the owner, but I believe for everyone on the team, because we have the accountability chart, clear roles and responsibilities. We have the weekly meetings. Yeah. We have one-on-one meetings where we have a culture of direct and loving feedback, where people crave feedback and people ask for feedback, and it helps us move faster. Trust is a big one. Yeah. They talked a lot about at the EOS conference. Like, that's trust. The organization will move at the speed of trust, or something like that. Trust enables the business to move forward. I just got back from a week-long vacation in the Caribbean with my family. I did zero work, like nothing. I deleted all my work apps and everything, and I came back. And
what a feeling that is, huh?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's so cool. I came back yesterday. It took me 40 minutes to catch up, and everything ran smoothly. And like, Yeah.
Starting
So
to live the EOS life, huh?
and it's not just me. Like Sydney went on her honeymoon to Hawaii for 2 weeks earlier this year. Same thing. She comes back, like catches up a little bit, but like she can do that and not have to worry about like, oh my, the week after and the week before vacation are going to be crazy, insane.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's able to do it. So it's not just me. And then, we're just able to have more of an impact and hopefully like trickle that down to a lot of our clients as well. We're not official EOS implementers, so hopefully no one flags this podcast because they're super strict about their brand. But we just share the things that are working with us, and they've just been so impactful.
Would you say top 3 investments that Contractor Dynamics has made EOS and hiring an implementer?
So we actually never hired an implementer.
Self-implement?
We self-implement, which I would not recommend because you just move slower without it,
Yeah.
So we have never hired an implementer, but we did hire an integrator, our COO Steve, about 6 months ago, who was like our biggest biggest hire that we've ever made.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was
that's a pretty big
that
hire.
was a big one. Yeah. A Marine veteran, super dialed in ops guy, like awesome. So yeah, I mean, like you got to be able to invest in people and to grow the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, but EOS is one of the things that we've implemented, like a game changer for sure.
Nice.
Like I drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah.
No, we live by it as well, and thanks to you guys for introducing it to us. For us as a younger business, we needed some structure, specifically an infrastructure that we could build on. And for our team, I think the biggest takeaway for us is it gives everybody a voice.
Yeah.
Right? And with such a young and growing team, with so many things to solve and so many issues that come up and challenges that come up, coming from another place or another business or another company and not having a voice, not being able to share their opinions to the owners and deal with the frustrations, it's tough for people.
Right.
But EOS empowers them your team members to make their own decisions, right? And to help the business grow themselves versus just being the owners calling all the shots. So
yeah,
that's the part we love most about it.
That is a great point. Yeah. It's everyone's got a voice. I love that.
Gotta give everyone a voice. Circling back to so you Contractor Dynamics, you guys focus on helping other contractors, specifically roofing contractors, build out their marketing plan, right? So
yeah, a little bit more than that. So we've been operating for 12 years. For the first 7 years, we were a marketing agency. For the past 4 or 5 years, a training company. Now, as of this month, we've relaunched the agency. So marketing solutions provider to roofing companies specifically. All of our clients are roofing. Besides maybe 1 or 2 that kind of snuck in there. They're great people. But
marketing agencies. So now what are you going to be?
So we're at our core, we're a training company, right? So we are equipping. Our purpose is to equip people and companies with the tools to transform and grow, right? So that's what we've done with you guys. Here's the playbook. Here's the tools. Here's how to build your own in-house marketing. Here's how to do your videos, your ads, all of the things, right? So that is at our core because every successful company has a system for generating their own customers and building their brand, right?
100%, yeah.
They're not just buying leads. Maybe they do buy leads, but they're not just buying leads, right? They're not just knocking doors. Like they have a plan to build their brand, to attract team members, to attract customers consistently and predictably.
And what is the methodology that you guys teach over at Contractor Dynamics? Is there a specific thing that maybe you
like in a specific geographic area? Yeah. So like, all right, well, we're in Monmouth County, New Jersey right now, right? There's, I don't know, 100 towns. So you guys, like as a small company, especially when you first started out, it's like, well, you don't need to market to the entire county. You just need to like focus on your little backyard area. So we call that being 5 Mile famous. So get everyone in your market or in Colts Neck, New Jersey to know who you are and what you do and associate with you in a positive way. Just be that company that people see, the black and yellow in their feed all the time, on the roads, the yard signs, all of that. And you never know when someone in your market's going to need a roof, right?
Yeah.
Only 3% of people in Colts Neck are going to need a roof this year. Like 3% on average, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who they are. Like you're not going to go door to door and be like, hey, you need a roof this year?
But when they think about getting a roof, how do we get them to think about us?
Right. Top of mind awareness. You want to become that top choice. Yeah.
By being what? Omnipresent.
Omnipresent, being everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's a tough, I don't say pill to swallow. It's the long game. And there's some trust in that process because you're doing an activity today that might not pay off for 30, 60, 90 days.
Oh yeah.
I think you told me it was a year before you generated a lead from like Facebook. And
before we close the lead from Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most companies like can't stomach that,
Yeah.
So I mean, you should be doing other activities at the same time, right? selling, cold calling, door knocking, whatever it is while you're doing the marketing. But a lot of companies they don't understand that.
Yeah. But what comes with that, like you said, you're building a 5 Mile famous brand. You're not building something that is going to generate the return instantly. It's going to generate the return over a long period of time.
Right.
So when you're building a brand, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to be known as that figure in your market that is the lead brander or the lead company for whatever you're trying to do. So for us, like that scenario where we marketed on Facebook for a couple months, almost a year before getting our first deal.
Right.
But in the process of doing that, we're building a brand. People are seeing us more consistently.
Yeah.
How many times does it take somebody to see your brand before actually?
Depending on what you Google, 10, 15, 20. I think it used to be like 7 to 10, but now like our world is so noisy. It's like, I don't know, 15, 20.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah. But it's a compound effect, right? So there's going to be someone that buys a roof from you in 3 years. It's like, oh yeah, I've been watching you guys for like 5 years, Yeah. We onboarded a new client today in Chicago, and I think I've spoken to him once at an event maybe. But he was like, yeah, I've been following you guys for years. I watch all your YouTube videos, and like, I had no idea,
Yeah.
It becomes a new client today. So yeah, that's how it works.
Joe, most underrated marketing strategy for roofing contractors.
Most underrated marketing strategy, honestly, I'll just use this example. So you having this show, like you having this podcast, I know it's not really the angle that you're going to go with, but for most contractors, and they're putting out videos, they're just putting out content to put out content, right? Just kind of checking a box. And that used to work, but it doesn't work as well anymore. But having like a show like this, if you were to have other local business owners, which you will on this show, who are probably not very good at marketing their businesses, then you can get all this content edited. You can give it to them. They can share it out to their people because they're going to be so excited. They're on a podcast. They got video content. They're going to share it out. Boom, there's the black and yellow brand. And you're like just building that like sphere of influence,
Yeah.
And you're helping other people. You're highlighting other local businesses, other local leaders. So that's huge. Gary Vee talks about it. He's got a video called the St. Louis Business Podcast. Like just as an example, right? Like you own a business in St. Louis, like have all the other business owners on your podcast and share all that content. Yeah, it's one of the first things I would do if I had a local business.
So do that. You cross share followers, right? People that know of your business now, they know about my business.
Totally. That's how you grow your following. Become someone worth knowing, and you'll generate leads, you'll generate team members, but then you'll generate other opportunities for maybe investing in properties or other businesses, or you don't even know. It's wild.
Comes from it, right?
It's wild. Yeah.
You put yourselves around the right people, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
In this case, other business owners that are trying to be on the same path as you don't know what's going to come out of it.
Right. Yeah. People want to kind of vibe with their tribe. Like you're kind of doing things and you're making progress.
One of our guys said that the other day. I was like, wow. So ironic you say that. Joe, what's one thing roofing companies should stop doing immediately?
One thing roofing companies should stop doing: buying leads, man. Come on.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. Was that setting money on fire?
So when you buy, I mean, look, there are some companies that make it work, right? If you're buying leads from Home Advisor, Angie, whatever, Thumbtack, all those deals, and you have like that in-house salesperson that can follow up immediately within, 4 seconds or whatever. Like there are some people that make it work, no doubt. But like, it's just an educational thing. Like when you buy a lead, like what do you think that is? That's contact info from a person that has no idea who you are. You could be Braga Brothers with this beautiful office and like great company, or you could be Tank Top Tommy who's just like smoking a cigarette and like, just like buying leads off of Angie's list, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So like the homeowner has no idea who you are. And then it's like, oh, the leads are bad, right? Well, what did you expect? Like they have no idea who you are. And then you're trying to take that lead from cold to sold in a very short period of time. And then you're mad that you're getting price shopped.
Yeah.
Like they're just looking for the cheapest price for the most part.
They say when they know your brand or they know who you are, they make 80% of the buying decision.
There you go.
Before you even get there, right? So in this scenario, when you're buying these leads and you're competing against 5 other people, they have no clue who you are.
Right.
So at the end of the day, how are they going to make a decision?
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be based solely.
It's just price.
On
price.
Price.
That's a shortcut to making a great decision.
Yeah.
It's like all these 5 guys look the same. I'll just choose the lowest price because I want to make a smart decision. So yeah, don't buy leads. Invest in building your brand. Invest in, we call it generating leads through your brand. Yeah. People that are reaching out to Braga because they want maybe not to give you the job, but at least you're going to be one of the 3 quotes or 3 estimates they're going to get.
100%. I love that because that's exactly what we focused our business on is around our brand and doing the right thing. And we know that continuously doing the right thing and living by our core values and by our mission means we're going to attract the right people and attract the right team members, which ultimately is going to help us grow, right, and get to the vision that we want to get to. So,
yeah, for sure.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to EOS. We've been able to do that. One last question, Joe, before we wrap this up. I always like to ask, I like to get this takeaway from everybody. Give me one personal mantra or phrase that you live by. If you can pick one. I know there's a lot out there.
Winners do what they've committed to, not what they feel like doing. I think that came from Todd Herman, I want to say. I just love that, right? Because like there's a lot of days where like today I'm exhausted, getting back from vacation, tired. Things I didn't feel like going to the gym. I felt like sleeping in, didn't feel like shooting 6 videos in my studio today. But push through it. You just get it done. That's what I committed to.
Yeah.
And that's having a team, right? Sydney, as our marketing director, kind of like assigned those videos to me to do. And so I'm like, all right, well, I don't really feel like I'm exhausted. I'm not really in the zone today, but she's a great leader and I don't want to let her down. So yeah. So winners do what they've committed to, not what they feel like doing.
Love that. Lead by example in
this
case. Yeah. Joe, awesome. I want you to tell the people, where can the contractors that want help, that want to grow their business, that want to get to the next level, how can they find you?
Pretty simple. Contractordynamics.com is our website. All over social media. And then I put out a lot of content as well on my social media. My website's josephhughes.co. Not the M, just CO.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on the M. I gotta find that guy who has it. Waiting for him to die. No.
Okay. And reach out to you. They're going to be speaking to you. They're going to be going through your Contractor Dynamics program. There's a couple different services you offer, right?
Yes, they'll speak with likely not me because we have a great team that's better at those conversations than I am. Elizabeth or someone else on our team. And yeah, we lead with value, right? We're help first mentality. Want to provide value and insight. And if there's a great opportunity to work together, then great. If there's not, we'll refer you out to someone else or give you some guidance and, that you can do it on your own. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Love to hear that, Joe. I want to thank you for being the first guest out here on the Visionary Cast. My name is Luke Braga, visionary and owner of Braga Brothers Contracting. You guys just got to meet and know a little bit more about Joseph Hughes, visionary at Contractor Dynamics. Thank you for having us. Thank you for coming out, Joe. We talked a little bit about branding, growing your vision, building your team. If you guys found this helpful at all, and this is something that you're interested in and you want some help from somebody who's proven it, or you want to learn more for free, make sure you guys subscribe to our content. Make sure you guys check us out on Instagram at Braga Brothers or Hey Joseph Hughes on Instagram as well. Get a lot of good stuff out of that. This is Luke Braga at the Visionary Cast at Braga Brothers Contracting, and that's a wrap for episode 1.